Hello and welcome to round 2 of the Parenting Roundabout podcast. I'm Catherine Haleko and I'm here with Terry Morrow. Say hi, Terry.
Hello.
Usually on this podcast we talk about parenting issues, but once a week Terry and I like to get together to discuss TV, movies, books, and other entertainment topics because it's nice to talk about something other than parenting for a change. So this week we continued our West Wing watch with the episode A Good Day. But before that, we returned to Fosse Verdon for 2 episodes called Me and My Baby and Glory. And wow, this show is dark.
Yes, indeed.
And there's very little it's a musical, fun musical numbers. It is like real hard stuff. The first episode we watched, Me and My Baby, was all about Gwen Verdon and flashing back to how she had a baby that she, I guess, abandoned with her parents. Unclear because they never told the end of that story, really. I mean, they never said, they showed her leaving,
right?
And they never showed whatever happened after that. Did she ever go back?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if her parents were like, no, you can't come back. He's ours now and game over, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been going down a little rabbit hole today of articles about Fosse Verdon and what people have written about the various episodes and the backstories of everything. And apparently the backstory of her first marriage has always been that she married very young. She lied about her age and they got married and then she had this baby and he was a drinker and abuser. And eventually she left him and then she left the baby with her parents to go back to be a dancer. And this has a sort of a different take on it than that. Yes. Basically, he raped her and then she got pregnant and she had to marry him. And that's apparently, I read an article by, fun fact, the writer of that episode is Deborah Kahn, who wrote the West Wing episode we talked about last week. Okay. So, and she said, it sounds like in talking to Gwen Verdon's daughter, Nicole had pieced together the actual story over time, just based on things that her parents, that she had heard little bits and pieces and kind of pieced together the real story. And that, this guy was basically a friend of her parents and her parents made her get married to him. And it was just a very, pretty much any way you cut it, it's a very sad story about a very young girl who was at the very least sort of forced into something that a young girl should not have to do. And at the most was, that was done in the most abusive possible way. So, but I've also read things that say she did have a relationship with her son. I was just reading something where he's quoted as saying, it wasn't a normal relationship, but it was normal to me. And that his mother always tried to make him, keep up a relationship with him and make him part of things. And so it sounds like no hard feelings from his part, at least from his adult perspective.
Right.
And so that's kind of interesting. But this is obviously the way this show is being done is through such a prism, sort of a kaleidoscope, really, that we're going to see little bits and pieces of stuff and kind of have a sense of how they filled in, how they created a picture. But not ever going to get the entire backstory on anything, which is fine because, we live in an age where you can then go on the internet and Google stuff. Also, we'll put a link in the show notes. I'll send you this also. Was an article somewhere, I think it was Playbill, where they gave the plot of that horrible play she was in, Children. And oh my goodness. I am not surprised that it closed on the first night, no matter how wonderful she was in it or not. But that does not sound like a pleasant evening of theater. So it's very, it's part of the fun of a show like this to then go look up stuff afterwards and, hear what people thought of different scenes, hear who those different people were. Oh, yes, this is this guy who then went on to do this thing. Oh, yeah. So it was, it's almost as, it's not as interesting as actually watching it, but it's a definite nice second layer of experience. As is true of some shows. I had that same experience with Lost, where reading the fan suppositions of what the heck was going on was almost more fun than watching the show. So that was, it was interesting getting those little snippets of her early life, and I think that we're supposed to, it's supposed to kind of contribute to her character without having to be a straightforward biographical thing.
Right, and they also had it contribute to her work in that terrible
Right.
play. That,
Which then the director still didn't appreciate because
he
clearly
didn't. I was like, come on, man.
she opened a vein for you, buddy. Come on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Try to appreciate that a little.
Yes, that is not good. But
yeah, so that one was Gwen, me and my baby, and
right.
The next one called Glory was all about Bob Fosse and his demons and his terrible behavior.
Of which there is no shortage.
No, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that scene where he's trying to put the makeup on the dancer and she is not having it and he just does not stop. That was... I was reading the Playbill review of it puts trigger warnings in the text when it's going to be some sort of sexual violence coming up.
Yeah.
They had one for that.
Many.
Yeah. That, and then the end, that tour de force ending scene where he's imagining this sort of medley from Pippin in his room as he's contemplating jumping out the window.
Right.
Was something else.
It would be good if I knew the plot of Pippin, which I do not.
Yeah.
I think that would add definitely to my appreciation.
Yes. There's a general understanding with this series that theater nerds are going to enjoy it so much more than us.
Well, they're just going to get so much more out of it.
I have like a general working knowledge of the era and of the creative. I mean, I've heard of all this stuff and I kind of have a general idea of it, but nowhere near. I mean, there were... Like Alex Lacamoire was posting videos of them all the actors sitting around in a room singing songs from Pippin, and I'm going, well, that's nice. It would be so much nicer if I actually knew them. I bet I would really enjoy seeing that.
Right.
But
I know the one song, "Corner of the Sky."
Yeah. But so that would be helpful. I mean, I know I saw Cabaret at one time, but I have very little memory of it. And
that one I have a good knowledge of.
Yeah, I mean, I have a basic knowledge of the plot, but it would be nice. I mean, it would be much more. It's obviously made by people who have a deep knowledge. I read an article about the writer of that Glory episode talking about how they were just basically singing parts of it as they were writing the script, and so. But
it's
still,
impressive. It
is very impressive and very watchable. And man, those lead performances are just something else. I mean, I completely forget that those are actors. I'm just completely there. Everybody else I can kind of say, oh, I know what actor that is, and I know what actor that is, and boy, that actor is giving a good performance. But for the two of them, I just completely forget. And it's just completely by them.
The little girl who's playing their daughter.
Yes.
Quite good.
Yes.
And all of a sudden she sings in this very last one, Glory. She started singing.
Yeah, so, it's such a moving moment when he actually, he actually thinks of her as opposed to pawning her off on somebody else.
Exactly.
And she saves his life. But just such a stylish and well done and interestingly done piece of work. I really, enjoy watching it. And this time I did watch it on my computer with headphones, which was extremely helpful. So I feel like I got all the dialogue, which sometimes I feel like I've missed some.
Right.
And also I have to focus on it because I can't be working on my computer if I'm watching on my computer. I can play games on my phone, but I can't be doing work. So I think I focus on it a little better. So I'm going to try to do that from now on. You have to, if you watch it on FX, you have to watch commercials apparently for Godzilla. I watched about 8 Godzilla commercials. Bradley Whitford making jokes about Godzilla. It's not terrible. So, I suppose for people who are into monsters, it's a hey, it's that monster kind of commercial. But for me, it's a hey, it's that guy. Hey, is that Kyle Chandler in a Godzilla movie? Oh, Bradley Whitford in a Godzilla movie. Really?
Here he is again. He was in the unicorn store and now he's...
Right. The man works is all we got to say. Speaking of the man working.
Yes, The West Wing. Shall we move to that?
We can move to that, yeah.
Yes. So this week's West Wing was called A Good Day, but the general consensus was, it wasn't a good episode necessarily, or episode. I mean, I agreed with a lot of what they said on the podcast. Like, the whole plot about invading Canada was just... silly because it wasn't funny enough, but it wasn't serious enough either. It was just weird, I thought.
I had like the opposite experience with this episode than I did last week. Last week, I watched the episode, didn't like it that much, listened to the podcast, and found myself liking the episode a lot more. This time, I listened to the podcast first and was kind of like, I really don't want to watch it now because I guess it's not that good. And I watched it and I really enjoyed it. So it wasn't as bad as I was expecting. The Canada plot, while I recognize it was kind of stupid, I laughed. I laughed a lot. I laughed at every time they showed the fish and wildlife guy looking like this is the best day of his life.
When he like chuckle because he's in the situation where he's like, oh my God, I get my mirror. And every, the military guy was like trying really hard not to smile broadly at how this was going. And the Canadian, I laughed at it a lot. Maybe, maybe it was her performance as she was why great.
Am I having to deal with this?
Right. Yes, I did enjoy Mary McCormack as Kate Harper in that situation.
She was hilarious. Just the right amount of...
Although her hair...
Is this my life?
Like, did she take the time to curl her hair?
Yes.
I mean, that doesn't seem in character.
I did on numerous occasions notice that her hair was awfully glam for what she was doing.
Yes.
It looked like maybe she had gone out to a party and curled it nicely and then slept on it. It wasn't perfect, but it was girly. Better than the bangs, perhaps. But
definitely better than the bangs.
She needs to pay off the hair person there at the West Wing. Clearly. She needs to say, let's have an understanding. This is the way a professional person looks. Can we just do that? Can you give me that wig? That wig is the one I want.
Right.
But I just found that really amusing.
Like military women put their hair in a bun.
Yeah, I think so. She needs to get whoever styles Helen Santos from pretty much here on in needed to have done the same deal on Mary McCormack.
Figure skaters and military women. They're good with the buns.
That's right. Not with the long curls when you're in the sit room. It just doesn't seem right. But and the whole slumber party thing, they have an absolute point on the Western Weekly podcast that why couldn't Hafley have just pulled it the second time? Having heard that, kind of took the wind out of the sails of that whole plot, but it was still fun.
It was still fun. Yeah.
Sneaking around and the little Arkansas congressman just sort of like being the linchpin of this sneaky plan while looking as callow as a human can possibly look.
Right.
That was awesome.
Yes, I definitely enjoyed that whole plot line, even if it did have slight holes in it. But, Cliff Callie just completely switching sides and being such a team player for the White House was a lot of fun.
Even if his wardrobe was a little snappy. But, kind of trying to balance out against Josh, who's sort of back in the territory for a moment. And, and Donna and Matt had a nice little moment there. That was... a silly start to, they do a lot of work showing Santos to be a pretty decent guy and a pretty friendly and straightforward one. So I kind of liked that. You're Russell's chicken woman or something like that, wasn't it? What was he said? Yeah.
Chicken
fighter, I think it was.
Yes.
And
like, we haven't met. I'm Matt Santos. I'm running for president. Yeah, she knows.
Yeah. He just can't say his name anymore without that tagline going after it.
That's right. And then he has to shake your hand.
That's right. But the kids, the plot, I got done without that.
Yeah. That and the Nobel Prize guy.
Yes, that I definitely could have done without. Right. That was not interesting to me at all. But, it's more than on balance, I liked it. I don't know if I would say it's my favorite episode, but it's definitely one that I remembered from this bunch as having that fun sneaking around element to it.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely fun. But I think you're right that the podcast did kind of bring it down a little bit because Richard Schiff, man, like he's such a good actor, but he comes across as just really an unpleasant person who Didn't enjoy what he was doing.
No. Well, at this phase, anyway, I felt bad because the last time I listened to the podcast before you and I told you to stop at a certain point, and this one I felt was a little spoilery about something I've already kind of foreshadowed, that there is a plot development I don't like. And I kind of had a sense that Richard Schiff didn't like it too. I don't know if I'd read something about it, but he made it pretty clear in this episode that he does not like what is ahead. And I do not blame him. I think he is absolutely right. But you don't necessarily need to hear that, because I don't know if I'd spoiled that it was Toby that the bad plot point happened to, but it is. Right. And he is absolutely right to be ticked off about it. So, and yeah, I agree with him that there does seem to, they did such a good job in those first Sorkin seasons of establishing exactly who Toby is. We had a very, very detailed psychological picture of that dude. And so when they start just like, he's grumpy and he's bristly, it just doesn't, no, we know that guy.
Right. So there's a lot more going on.
Yeah. So I imagine if it's frustrating for us as viewers, it must have been incredibly frustrating for him, for the kind of actor he is, who cares, Joshua Malina always teases himself about just being happy to get a paycheck and not caring. Although I imagine he does too, but still, as long as the paychecks are coming fine, I'll do whatever you want.
Whatever you say.
Schiff does not seem like that kind of actor. So there must have been some very interesting conversations as the mostly next season comes along. So shelve that. Forget you heard about it.
Exactly.
Little spoilery there. And I mean, Harishi was saying, like he knew what Schiff was talking about, but
he
supposedly hasn't watched them all.
Well, he said that he's watched ahead.
Has he? Okay. Yeah.
At this point, so.
All right.
Well,
what are we doing next week?
With 1 week at a time, not one day at a time anymore. So next week, we're going to do 2 more episodes of Fosse Verdon. I need to do them separated by at least a day or 2. I can't handle them back to back. But these 2 are called Where Am I Going? And All I Care About Is Love. And then the West Wing episode that we're going to watch is called La Palabra.
Okay. It's the campaign episode, I think.
Yeah, Super Tuesday, I think. So that's going to be it for our round 2 today. Please subscribe to our Parenting Roundabout podcast so you won't miss any of our episodes. We have something new for you every weekday. And as always, you can find recaps, links, and an opportunity to comment on our website at parentingroundabout.com. Goodbye, Terry.
Bye, Catherine.
Bye, everyone.